My granddaughter handed me a note, saying my kids were planning to lock me up and steal my house. 3 days later, it was my signature that tore their plan to pieces. They thought I was too old to fight back. Before we go on, make sure to subscribe and tell us in the comments where you're tuning in from. My name is Franklin Hayes. I'm 74, and I've been living alone ever since Ellen passed. Up until yesterday, I thought the hardest part of my days would be missing her. But today, I see it clear. The real battle doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within your own family. Betrayal doesn't knock. It smiles. It pretends to care. At 7 a.m., the phone rang. It was my daughter, sweet voice, too sweet. Said they were coming by Sunday with some important news. I've heard that tone before. Last time it came with a price, a real one. Emily, my 10-year-old granddaughter, is the only true connection I still feel to them. She writes me letters, draws pictures of our fishing trips, always signs them with little purple hearts. Her parents? They trade fake affection for access. Last time they said they had something important to talk about. They tried to get me to sign off on selling my car. Now my gut tells me they're back to take whatever's left. Not out of love, out of pure interest. The worst part of aging isn't getting weaker. It's being seen as someone easy to control. They forget that behind the wrinkles still lives the man who built everything from scratch, the one who survived recessions, paid every bill, never bowed to anyone. But when greed walks through the front door, family memories tend to sneak out the back. I know this game. Even if I don't know the rules this time, I know what fake smiles really mean. They usually come right before a robbery. I opened the drawer in my study and stared at my black notebook. It holds every loan, every bill I covered, every dollar I handed out over the years. Nearly $70,000 gone, all in the name of trust. Not a penny paid back, not a drop of real gratitude, just more requests. Ellen used to say, "Franklin, where there's constant asking, love's already left the room." Now that she's gone, it's just me, facing the performance of a family that no longer sees me, just measures me. I stayed quiet all Saturday, but it wasn't a sad silence. It was strategy. I went through my documents, checked every line in the insurance, every clause in the old will. I set the stage. If they were coming with a plan, I'd have one too, because the best revenge doesn't shout. It watches. It waits. And when it strikes, no one sees it coming. Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Their car pulled up slow, like even it was weighed down by the lies inside. My daughter stepped out with a big smile and a bag of warm bread, like carbs could hide abandonment. My son-in-law, looking like a tax accountant who just lost his job, carried a black folder. Paperwork. Emily ran up and hugged me tight, but in her eyes, there was something else. A shadow. "Grandpa, can I tell you something later?" I took a deep breath before answering. Right there, on the porch of the house Ellen and I built brick by brick. It hit me. This visit wasn't about seeing me. It was about what I owned, what they thought they could take. And the worst part? They thought I wouldn't notice. But if there's one thing the years have taught me, it's that the quiet ones are watching, and the ones who watch, they win. I went inside with them, took the coffee, accepted the hugs, even smiled back. But inside, every move I made was calculated. They didn't know it yet, but they had just awakened the most dangerous version of an old man they thought was done. And in 3 days, their silent betrayal would meet an even quieter revenge. Slow, sharp, and absolutely unforgettable. From the first minute, it was all a performance. My daughter walked in complimenting the garden she never once helped plant. My son-in-law served coffee like he owned the place. Emily wandered off into the living room, no smile on her face. I just sat and watched. They thought they were in control, but they forgot something. This house was mine, paid with sweat, sacrifice, and losses they'll never understand. I grieved in these walls. All they saw was dollar signs. Right at the start of lunch, they brought up the important topic. "Dad, we wanted to sit down and talk about your future." I chewed slowly. Every time they say, "your future," what they really mean is their pockets. "We visited this amazing assisted living place," she said, eyes a little too shiny. "Everyone's your age, meals are ready, no one bothers you. And there's doctors available, of course," my son-in-law added like that was a bonus. That wasn't care. That was eviction, just dressed up in concern. I didn't answer. Not right away. Just wiped my lips with a napkin and stood to get some water. As I passed through the living room, I saw the black folder my son-in-law brought, sitting on the coffee table, slightly open. Loose pages, a gold pen tucked into the zipper. I leaned in, and there it was, bold print at the top of the first page. Residential property evaluation. Direct sale proposal. They hadn't just made a decision for me. They were already drafting the paperwork for the robbery. I walked back to the table with the same blank face. So, you're asking me to leave my own house? My daughter rushed to respond. No, Dad. It's just an idea. But her body told the truth. Sweaty hands, eyes avoiding mine, and my son-in-law gripping his glass like he was bracing for a fight. They didn't come to listen. They came to sell me on their plan. It was just like Ellen used to say, watch out for the ones who smile while showing you the door. After lunch, they suggested going out for some fresh air. While they rinsed dishes at the sink, I slipped back to the living room and snapped a photo of that first page. The numbers were right there. $890,000 estimated for the house. Not bad, for people who never put a single dime into it. And right under that, a clause. Full transfer of assets to designated family guardian. The guardian? My son-in-law. The same man who can't even change a light bulb without calling a handyman. They were ready to steal my entire life story, all in one Sunday afternoon. I faked being tired and went upstairs. A few minutes later, Emily knocked on the door. Grandpa, do they want you to move out? I nodded. She bit her lip and pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. I heard them talking last night. They said you're starting to forget things. My heart broke. They were using her innocence as part of their shield. But then she whispered, I don't believe them. I remember everything you teach me. That changed everything. I wasn't alone anymore. The worst pain of being betrayed by your own family is thinking you've lost everything. But sometimes a child reminds you that you still have the one thing that matters most. Someone who believes in you. I hugged Emily and made her a silent promise. They won't use you to destroy me. And if they want to play games with lies, then it's time I start playing mine. With the truth. And a revenge they'll never see coming. When you realize your own daughter is plotting against you, something inside your chest breaks in a way that can't be fixed. It's not just the betrayal. It's the emotional robbery that comes with it. The theft of trust, of warmth, of peace. But that Sunday, while the sun still lit up the porch, something else lit up too. The courage of a child. Emily walked into the room with tiny steps and eyes way too big for her little body. She was holding a notebook with a purple cover, the one we always used for our crossword games. Grandpa, can I show you something? I nodded. She sat next to me, opened the notebook, and there it was, written in tiny pencil letters. Mom said that after the move you won't need the house anymore, that they'll help you sign the papers soon. I didn't say a word, just took a long breath, swallowing the pain like broken glass. Emily bit her lip. They think you forget stuff, but I remember everything, Grandpa. Even the stories you used to tell me when I was little. And that's when it hit me. My granddaughter remembered even when the grown-ups were pretending. She pulled another note from her pocket, this one in red ink. I heard them talking in the bedroom. Dad asked if this was really the right time to do it. Mom said everything was already set up with the bank papers. And what else did you hear? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She said you have too much money for an old man living alone, and that they were going to take care of it once and for all. Those words landed like hammers to the chest. They were using my age as a legal excuse to steal from me. My blood boiled, but my face stayed soft, for Emily's sake. She didn't need my rage. She needed my strength. And why are you telling me this now, sweetheart? She shrugged. Because I know when something's not right, and you always protected me. Now I want to protect you too. That little girl, 10 years old, was becoming my only real ally. And for the first time, I didn't feel alone in this family lunch-turned battleground. You won't tell them I told you, right, Grandpa? No, sweetie. This will be our secret mission. Sound good? She smiled and nodded. I kissed her forehead and watched her silhouette disappear through the doorway. I'd already lost Allan, already given up years of peace in the name of family. But right then I decided, I won't lose my freedom, and I won't let my granddaughter grow up thinking betrayal has no consequences. That whisper changed everything. They thought they had found their next victim, but what they created was a man in silence, ready to flip the game. I grabbed my notebook, wrote down every single word Emily told me, and tucked it into a folder marked Plan B. If they wanted a legal war, they'd get one, but not with some confused old man, with a man who's ready, and with a kind of revenge that moves slow until it stings. The next morning something didn't sit right. It wasn't just the memory of what Emily had whispered. It was like my body knew, before my mind, that more was coming. I opened the drawer where I keep my medical documents and found a folder with my name written in pen. There shouldn't have been anything new in there, but between the old papers was a fresh report, printed on letterhead I'd never seen. Right there in cold clinical font it read, Preliminary Cognitive Assessment, Suspected Early Onset of Mild Dementia. Signed by a neurologist I'd never even met. They didn't just want the house. They wanted to label me as mentally unfit. My heart raced. The office stamp looked real. But the signature? It didn't. Zooming in, I could see faint printing flaws, like someone had scanned a real form and pasted my name on it. That was criminal. A betrayal written in black ink, backed by stolen letterhead. First thing I did was take photos. Then I called the doctor's office. A receptionist answered. I gave her my name. After a short pause, she said, Mr. Hayes, you're right. We don't have any records under your name here. The confirmation made my stomach turn. They were burying me alive, and trying to look like heroes while doing it. I walked down to the kitchen, hand on the fridge for balance. Ellen's photo was still there. On the back, in her handwriting, one of her favorite quotes, The truth sets you free, but first it wrecks you. And I could feel the wreckage coming. I picked up the phone and called my friend Malcolm. He works as a notary now. Malcolm, I need your help. They're trying to have me declared incompetent. You serious, Franklin? Dead serious. And I've got proof. Silence. Then, tell me when and where. I'll be there. For the first time since Ellen passed, I felt fear. Not fear of losing my house. Fear of losing my right to exist as myself. A medical conservatorship isn't just paperwork. It's identity theft in the most twisted way. And the worst part? It comes wrapped in smiles and soft phrases. It's for his own good. He's not thinking clearly anymore. But what they didn't know was, I'd never seen things more clearly in my life. When the enemy finally shows their face, your mind sharpens like a razor. Malcolm agreed to come Tuesday. But I needed a second ally. So I called my old attorney's office, Preston, and asked for a quiet visit. Told them I wanted to go over old documents. What I really wanted? To prepare the counterattack. If they were using bureaucracy to erase me, I'd use the law to make them bleed, with interest. That afternoon, my son-in-law dropped by with a bag of fruit and his fake, charming smile. Brought you something, Franklin. Just wanted to show we care. I smiled back, just a tired old man, grateful and soft. But inside, my plan was already halfway in motion. He had no idea that before the week was over, he'd be the one begging for help. Because when a lie gets exposed, the whole house of manipulation collapses, and all that's left is shame and consequence. At exactly 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning, Malcolm pulled up in his old sedan, just like the old days, back when men settled things with documents, not traps. He stepped inside, glanced around, and before he even sat down, he said, Franklin, you're being hunted with paperwork. I nodded. I laid everything on the table. The forged documents, the past transfers, the bank records, and that fake medical report. He went through it all in silence. When he finished, he looked up, eyes narrowed. This is worse than I thought. And this is just the beginning, I replied. This betrayal was too polished to have been thrown together in a week. Malcolm pulled out his phone and called a trusted attorney friend. Asked him to be available for a private meeting the next day. Franklin, we're going to do this the elegant way. If they're trying to bury you with legal tricks, they're going down in the same concrete they brought. He recommended we bring in a neutral witness, someone the kids wouldn't suspect, but whose presence carried legal weight. That's when I remembered Sarah, Ellen's former assistant. now a manager at the local registry office. Discreet, fair, and allergic to elder abuse, she'd lost her own father in a similar scheme. 2 phone calls later, the meeting was set. Thursday, 10 a.m. They thought they were coming to collect my signature, but it was justice that would be collecting. That evening, I got a message from my daughter. "Dad, we'll stop by in the morning. Mary wants to bring over a few documents for you to review." Documents. They just wouldn't stop. I replied with one short line. "I'll be home. Coffee's ready." Let them come with their arrogance, because arrogance always walks ahead of the fall. I spent the whole night preparing. I reviewed the statements, printed copies of every dollar I'd sent them over the past 4 years. $70,000 disguised as favors. Tuition payments, emergency wires, cash advances, store purchases on my credit. All documented, all ready to become evidence. I built a timeline with detailed notes. Every manipulation turned into a bullet point. Every fake smile, now a clause in my defense. Before bed, I took Ellen's photo down from the shelf. "I'm keeping my promise to you," I whispered. "I'll protect Emily, and I'll defend our name." My eyes burned, but I held it together. A man who cries too much in a war gets distracted, and I needed to stay sharp, because what was coming next was a full-blown battle disguised as a family visit. The next morning, everything was in place. Table set, coffee in the thermos, documents organized by date, and beside them, a folder holding my new will, an updated ironclad will. Everything locked in a trust under Emily's name, undisputable. They didn't know it, but revenge had already been signed before they even showed up. When I heard the car pull in, I took a deep breath. They walked in like they still owned the game. But this time, there were witnesses. There were records. There was a stage set. And more importantly, there was a man ready, not a frail old man, a strategist. And this was the first day of their fall. It was 9:56 a.m. when I heard the doorbell. I was already at the table, facing the front door, everything positioned like a chessboard. Sarah, our witness, pretended to review a contract beside me. Malcolm sipped his coffee and smiled like it was just another ordinary morning. On the surface, the mood was calm, but beneath it, the air was razor sharp. When my daughter walked in, she wore that overdone smile. My son-in-law followed right behind, holding that black leather folder like he'd already won. "Dad, it's so good to see you looking well today." "Feeling well, and sharp," I replied. They didn't know it yet, but they were seconds away from falling into their own trap. My son-in-law got straight to it. "We brought some documents for you to sign. No rush. Take your time." "What kind of documents?" I asked, sounding a little confused. He opened the folder and laid out 3 stapled pages with yellow sticky tabs marking where I was supposed to sign. "Just a simple power of attorney. To help with your bank stuff, appointments, bills." Sarah leaned in, subtly scanning the papers. "This is far from simple," she whispered. It was a full transfer of authority plan, a theft disguised as protection. I pretended to hesitate. "Well, my mind's been a bit slow lately, you know." Malcolm coughed deliberately. "That's why we're here, Franklin. I can go over it with you, line by line." My daughter shot a quick glance at her husband. "We just thought maybe it'd be better if Dad didn't involve outsiders in this." "Outsiders?" Malcolm chuckled. "Franklin and I go back 40 years. And Sarah added, "And I'm the official notary for any signatures made today. Everything will be formal." That's when I saw it. They started to shake. "Dad, you trust us, don't you?" my daughter asked, grasping at her last card. "Of course I do," I answered. "But I trust even more what's written down and backed by proof." I handed her an envelope. Inside, bank statements, receipts, the fake medical report, and a full timeline of their plan. Her face collapsed in seconds. My son-in-law turned pale. The show fell apart. And in that moment, silence said everything. Malcolm cleared his throat. "You came here with papers to take over Franklin's life, and forgot that he's still fully competent," Sarah added, her voice rising. My daughter tried to respond. "We just wanted to help." "Help? With unlimited power of attorney? With a forged diagnosis?" I slowly stood from my chair. "That's not help. That's betrayal with a notarized stamp. And now it was time to talk about consequences. I placed my new will on the table, unsigned, until that moment. Sarah began reading the clauses aloud. All assets will be transferred into an irrevocable education trust for the granddaughter Emily Hayes. Any heir involved in attempted conservatorship shall forfeit any right of reversal. My daughter cried silently. My son-in-law tried to explain, but there was no more room for excuses. The law had witnesses, documents, timestamps, evidence. And I had my silent revenge, officially notarized. When they left my house, they left defeated. They didn't argue. They knew they had lost the only game where they thought I was weak. The legal one. What was supposed to be a quiet morning theft turned into a full-blown evidence massacre. Emily peeked from the hallway, eyes wide. I pulled her into a hug and held her tight, then whispered in her ear, "From now on, no one decides for me, or for you." That morning wasn't just a turning point. It was the end of an era, the end of my own innocence. Signing that new will felt like sealing a silent promise I had made to myself the day I buried Allan. Never let what we built together be torn down by greed. Sarah notarized it with the calm of someone who's seen too much, and no longer flinches when children betray their parents. Malcolm stayed quiet, but his eyes said it all. Respect, admiration, and maybe a little sadness at how far a family can fall. The document was simple and sharp. Not a single cent would go to the ones who tried to rob me. No room for challenge, no loopholes. A lifetime of assets, house, accounts, investments, all transferred into a locked education trust, accessible only by Emily when she turned 21. Not a day sooner. No shortcuts, no interference. The little girl who warned me at my lowest moment was now the heir not just to my estate, but to my trust. The rest? Let them learn what betrayal costs. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just needs a stamp and a witness. After everyone left, I sat in the office and closed the leather folder with all the new documents. It felt strange. I expected relief, but what came was a dry, heavy silence. You don't get revenge on your own child without bleeding a little inside, but you also don't look away while they prep the dagger. Life forces you to make hard choices, and I chose to protect what could still be saved. My granddaughter, my story, and the dignity I still carry in my name. The next morning I got an email from their lawyer. Cold, formal. They acknowledged the tension caused and wished to withdraw all previous proceedings. That was it, their surrender, proof they'd been exposed. No apologies, no confession, just fear of legal trouble. But I wasn't looking for regret. All I wanted was for them to stop. To understand one thing, stealing from me comes with a price. Emily showed up that afternoon, backpack on her shoulders, a drawing in hand. It was the two of us sitting in the garden. At the top she wrote, "Family is the one who truly cares." A lump formed in my throat. I crouched down and held her tight. "You're safe now, sweetheart." "They won't try again?" she asked, eyes wide. "And if they do, they'll learn another lesson about limits and justice." That night I pulled out Ellen's old photo album from the drawer, looked through old pictures, scribbled notes, promises made and kept. I've lost a lot over the years, but getting the chance to rebuild this with Emily, that's priceless. They tried to lock me away, tried to take my house, my mind, my name, but they forgot. The man they called weak carries 4 decades of survival on his back. Now everything's sealed. And if one day the courts fail me, my own story will speak for itself, because there's no will stronger than the life you've lived. And as long as I'm breathing, no forged paper will silence me. They played dirty, but I played smart. And the final move hasn't been made yet. 3 days had passed since I flipped the game, and what followed was silence. No calls, no visits, no apologies. They vanished like rats when the lights come on. But I knew the truth. It wasn't guilt. It was strategy. They were still chewing on their loss, coming to terms with the fact that the man they once called a confused old fool was more dangerous than they'd ever imagined. And now, any wrong move would lead to court, to headlines, and most importantly, to consequences. On Friday, I got the official confirmation from the registry office. The will was filed and validated. Emily's educational trust was locked in, shielded from direct heirs. She now had a future, protected, no interference. No shadow from parents who once used her name as a tool for leverage. And I did it all without causing a scene. My revenge didn't scream. It was quiet, stamped, and cold as ice. And yet, it hurt deeper than any argument we'd ever had. Emily came by right after school. This time, no backpack, no drawing, just her, and a small smile. She sat beside me on the porch, saying nothing for a while. "Grandpa, can we live in peace now?" I looked out at the garden. Ellen's rose bushes were starting to bloom again. "We can, Emily, because now, the ones in charge here are us." We sat there till sunset. We talked about college, about what she wanted to be when she grew up. She said veterinarian, then teacher, then maybe an artist. And with a light heart, I told her she could be all three and more. Because you're free, sweetheart. Free from people who only know how to take. She laid her head on my shoulder and said, "You're my hero, Grandpa." And in that moment, every part of it was worth it. The next morning, I went to the bank. James, the branch manager who had followed the whole story, greeted me with a hug, the kind of hug that knows what war hides behind a smile. "They tried to take everything from you, Franklin, but you came out stronger. I came out fair, and with proof in hand. We updated passwords, moved funds into the new trust, and scanned every document in triplicate. If they ever come back for another try, they'll be facing a bunker, not a house. This isn't paranoia. It's protection. Because once you've been betrayed, you never sleep with the door unlocked again." I came home with my head high. My daughter lost the right to call me father. My son-in-law will never again sit on the couch he tried to sell. But Emily, she gained everything. She got her inheritance, her dignity, and the most powerful gift anyone can give a child. The certainty that not every injustice ends in silence. I know time will pass, and maybe one day, they'll come back. With tears, with excuses, with rewritten versions of the past. But I also know, the man they betrayed died that Sunday, and in his place, someone stronger was born. Colder, but still fair. Because real healing isn't forgetting, it's remembering, without letting it hurt anymore. And now, if anyone wants back in, they'll have to knock, and wait. How many times have you trusted too much, and almost lost everything? Franklin's story isn't just about betrayal. It's about opening your eyes before it's too late. Does someone in your family treat you like dead weight? Are you being manipulated with fake kindness and hidden paperwork? Tell us in the comments. Have you ever lived something like this? And more importantly, what would you do if your own daughter tried to steal everything from you? If this story moved you, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share it with someone who needs to wake up before they become the next signature target.